Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to the longest running superhero role playing game on Earth. I'm your host, the Game Master, and today we're talking about the Marvel villain known as Arcade, as well as his notorious amusement park full of deadly tricks and traps. But before we get into that, smash like, make sure you're subscribed, ring the bell, and leave us a comment. We've got an awesome community here, and it's all thanks to you guys. Thank you so much for being here. With all that said, let's dive in. Prologue to this one takes place in early 1978 when a fake garbage truck swallows up Spider Man and Captain Britain, who were then knocked out. When the heroes wake up, they find themselves inside of gigantic pinballs. These transparent spheres are incredibly hard to break. And the heroes are, of course, loaded inside of a colossal pinball machine. So Arcade works the controls, and the giant pinballs are launched. As they strike the various objects in the huge game, the heroes are given electric shocks and are hurt by the collisions. Eventually, Spider Man manages to break free, though. Then he and Captain America work together and break the second ball. Trapdoors open, dumping them each down a couple of separate chutes. And Spider Man then encounters a robotic cowboy who, like the ones in Westworld, is completely lifelike. So Spider Man does his Rock'em Sock'em Robots impression, punching off the head of this cowboy. And then Spider Man walks up to what looks like open air, but thanks to his various spider senses, he can tell this is actually a wall inside of something akin to a holodeck. So Spider Man rips it open and then crawls inside of an access corridor. And it looks like this massive facility from a science fiction movie, like the interior of the Death Star or something like that. Spider Man crawls through the corridor and gets to where Captain Britain is. And Captain Britain is using a gigantic claw machine, where the claw is basically the scoop from a piece of construction equipment. And Captain Britain's girlfriend is inside of a glass egg, slowly running out of air. And as if that wasn't bad enough, Arcade has flooded the chamber where Captain Britain is at. So by the time Spidey shows up, Cap's underwater. Anyways, so Spider Man helps, they save the girl, and they get away, coming up out of a manhole. And Arcade says he will rebuild bigger and better than before. Which brings us to the main plot. Scott Summers is walking down a sidewalk in New York City when Spider Man literally swings by to say hi. Then one of those garbage trucks swallows up Cyclops. Shortly after, at Lincoln Center, the other X Men are going to the opera for the evening when the room that they walk into turns out to be a trap. They're hit by knockout gas, and then a helicopter takes the entire room with them in it away. And at the X Mansion in Westchester, Arcade manages to knock out both Storm and Banshee, then abduct them. The phone rings and it's Spider Man, but Arcade picks it up and tells him that his warning has come too late. When next we see the X Men, they're in costume, waking up in more of these gigantic, transparent pinballs. After the heroes are bounced around some, their spheres drop through holes and break, and each X Man is in a different place now. Cyclops finds himself in a room where the walls are closing in on him, so he hits them with optic blasts. Colossus is approached by one of those Terminator like robots that you can't tell isn't the real thing, and it pretends to be part of the KGB. Also, there are lights in here which are hypnotizing Colossus. Wolverine passes through a house of mirrors, and his weird, distorted reflections bust out of their mirrors and attack him. And these two are incredibly sophisticated androids, which Wolverine himself learns when he takes his claws to them. But when he cuts one up, an automated system quickly manufactures a new android to take the place of the last one that he destroyed. Sort of like a Hydra regrowing new heads every time you cut one off. And the replacement androids are stronger and faster than the one before it was, learning from whatever caused the first one to fail. Nightcrawler finds himself chased by bumper cars with saw blades on the front until Cyclops blasts his way into this room to help Kurt out. Banshee is in another one of these holodecks in the middle of a World War II simulation. He dodges the various attacks until Wolverine shows up. And by then, the holodeck is displaying something more akin to Star Wars. Wolverine uses his senses, sort of like Spider-Man did, to find out where the wall really is and cut into it with his claws. And behind it, he finds android duplicates of the Incredible Hulk and Magneto. So Banshee fights Magneto while Wolverine fights the Hulk, slicing off bits of skin, revealing its Terminator-like interior. The robot Hulk gets gutted, and Cyclops shows up to destroy the Magneto android with another optic blast. Storm is in a room that's trying to drown her, so she swims down, finds a weak spot, and uses lightning, blowing a hole in the wall, which then floods the area where Cyclops and Wolverine are at. Cyclops uses CPR and gets Storm up and going again. Then Colossus shows up hypnotized, and he attacks the X-Men, but then he breaks his hypnosis and comes to his senses just in time for the X-Men to be ejected up and out of the Tunnel of Love at Coney Island. Which brings us to our epilogue. Many years go by. The heroes of Earth K age, and they become too old to fight anymore. Some of them die in various ways, and the next generation isn't quite old enough to take up the mantle of their fathers or grandfathers quite yet. But Steve Rogers, who is now Captain Universe, never ages. And one day, he finds himself haunted by villains, so he makes his way to Coney Island. He goes in the Tunnel of Love, which has been drained of water long ago. And what's left of Coney Island has either been destroyed from multiple fires, or there's graffiti and broken glass everywhere. Anyways, so Steve finds the entrance to Murderworld and decides to do some urban exploration. He makes his way down into the facility, and by now it's been years since Arcade was alive. But the security system taps directly into the New York power grid, and automated systems come online for the first time in ages. Robot clowns covered in spider webs slowly begin their mechanical laughter, and circus music begins to play over the PA system. Steve fights various robotic duplicates of his friends, and the robots, of course, look like his friends looked when they were young and healthy. And in some cases, the robot is the likeness of a friend who died at some point along the way. So, in many ways, this cassette punk hell feels like it's full of ghosts. Nonetheless, Steve Rogers fights his way through endless traps and robots until he finds Arcade's old control room, and he shuts down the security system. Cap explores the vast underground complex, and since most people in the 21st century never even knew it existed, Murderworld becomes the new temporary base of operations for the Avengers. And the fact that this place can create robotic duplicates of any fallen hero comes in really useful. And because the robots are so lifelike, the general public has no idea these are androids. So they put out both figurative and literal fires. And all over the news during a dark era, people see the return of the Avengers and it gives them hope again. But that's a story for another day. We liked this one. Hopefully you did too. If so, as always, smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, ring the bell, and leave a comment. From everyone here at the longest running superhero role playing game on earth, we hope you have a good one, and we'll see you in the next adventure. Bye.